And welcome to the Thumb Coast Get Stuck on Sports TV edition. Dennis Stuckey with you. And we're going to talk some boys basketball. Girls got their season underway. I'll see more girls games later this week and be able to talk about it a little bit more on the future shows. And we'll also get you caught up on what's going on in high school hockey as well. But I'm going to start with the boys today and just kind of take a look at how things have gone so far here in the early season for teams. And I'll start with Port Huron Northern. They're off to a 2-0 start. I've seen both of their games. They had a 10-day layoff between games, but they blew out Anchor Bay, and they had a really strong performance at St. Clair against a good Saints basketball team. And it's the three-headed monster both times. Moreland, Jamison, and Haryu, they were the leading scorers against Anchor Bay, all in double figures, and against St. Clair last week. Moreland with 20, Jamison with 20, and Haryu had 17, and he would have had 20, but he missed his last shot, which was a three. But Northern is off to a great start. Those three players are playing already at high volume or on all cylinders, really, to start the season. The Huskies aren't as deep this year, but the other guys are giving them good, solid minutes. Watkins is back playing basketball, and even if he doesn't score, he rebounds, he blocks shots, he affects the way teams attack the Northern basket because he's just a big body that gets in the way. Narelle Jordan really hasn't gotten going yet with his shot, but he's a guy that's going to really contribute for them. And they're also getting good play from other guys that are coming off the bench right now. And because they've won their first two games rather easily, they've been able to play a lot of guys in significant minutes. Really like the way that Jordan Band played the other night against St. Clair. It's been a rougher start for Port Huron High. The Redhawks are off to an 0-4 start on the season. This is a young group. Be patient. Give them a little time. They're not that bad of a basketball team, but they've got some guys that are going to have to grow into roles. One of them is Parison Rome, who I think can really do a lot for this team, but he's a young player and you just don't force it on him yet. Greg Haskins has been a positive offensively. He had 16 in a loss against L'Anse Creuse North, and then last week against Marysville, he poured in 29 points against the Vikings. Again, though, it was in a losing effort. Speaking of the Vikings, they're 1-2. Their one win was against PH. I saw them against Croslex. And they've also played Lamphere this year. They struggled defensively in those games. They were a little better against PH, who again is going to struggle to score. But a guy to maybe keep your eyes on is Davion Brunhuber. He had 20 in the Croslex game. And the Vikings are doing this right now. Again, they play everybody. They get contributions from everybody. Cole Cooper had a good game against Croslex, scored in double digits, and they played that game without Hunter Likens. Again, Hunter's not really a basketball player, but he's a great athlete, and he can make a difference on the floor. They didn't have them. Speaking of great athletes, Braylon Franz scored 24 against Northern, but when you're going up against that Husky three-headed monster, you need a lot more than that. I did like the efforts of Donnie Shaw, and Evan Trudeau scored 8 points in this game, but he was in foul trouble. Like to see him on the floor a little bit more for the Saints because I think he can be a big contributor. But St. Clair is off to a 1-2 start. Again, they got a loss to Northern. Doesn't bother me. They got a big win over Marine City. The game that bothers me was the first one when they lost down at Fraser. They're going to need to recover from that. The other MAC boys team is, of course, Marine City. They're off to a 1-3 start. But again, the Mariners got a nice win to start the season against Madison. They let one get away at Richmond, and they've kind of been beaten up in their last couple of games. But Johnny Hand is a scorer. Nathan Beaker is a much improved player. And they've got, again, not a lot of basketball players, but they've got some good athletes. Droptini and some of the other guys that play football, playing basketball this year. I think the Mariners are going to be okay. I don't think they're going to win a league title or anything like that, but I do think they'll be a lot more competitive than they've been in recent seasons. In the BWAC, the king is still Yale. The Bulldogs are off to a 4-0 start. They've beaten Lutheran North, Port Huron High, Richmond, and they blew out Elmont in their most recent game. Jackson Kohler is still one of the top players in the area. He had 26 in the Richmond game. And talking to the Richmond people, they were actually happy that they held him to just 26 points in that game. Yale off to a real solid start. I'll see them later this week against Imlay City. Really interested in that game. Imlay City is off to a 3-2 start overall, but they're 2-0 in the BWAC, as is Yale. And that, again, will be a big game coming up at Yale Friday of this week. Like Levon Edwards and Isaac Sommer and Sam Edson, those are players we kind of knew about. The wild card for the Spartans is going to be Jalen Gauthier. He's a big kid. He's young. He's a little bit of a project right now. He's a little rough, but you can see the potential as a rebounder, a shot blocker, and I also think as the season goes on, he'll become more of a scorer for Imlay City. Croslex is 2-1. Max Knoll, Cam Saunders, Alex Levitt, they're deep. The Pioneers are deep. They don't have anybody that's going to blow your mind, although Knoll can score 20 points and so can Saunders. But they're the most likely team to have a different guy every night pitch in with 10 or 12 points. Kerrigan was good against Marysville. He had a 10-point game. I like Peyton Old. And I saw them on a night where Shane Slanik, a really good player, only scored 4 points. He didn't do much. Pioneers are deep. They'll be a threat to Yale in the BWAC along with Imlay City. And then I kind of lump everybody else together. North Branch could be solid. Haven't seen them yet. They're 2-1 to start the season. Almont is off to a nice 2-1 start, although when they played Yale, it didn't go well for the Raiders. They only scored 16 points in that loss. Algonac is 1-3. I like Kane Sadlowski and Logan Schaefer. Again, the Muskrats aren't going to challenge for the league title, but this year you can't take them lightly because if you don't go into the game and play them hard, they might beat you. Richmond is off to a 1-4 start. I've seen the Blue Devils a couple of times now. They're an inexperienced team and a young team, but I like the way some players have stepped up for them. Their two guards, Jackson Distelrath and Colin Fenton, have played very well for them. Distelrath is doing it different. Last year in St. Clair, he'd stand off on the wing and knock down 3-point shots. This year, he's got to handle the ball more, distribute it more, and he's driving to the basket. And where he's scoring most of his points? At the free throw line. 7 of his 12 in a game against Marine City from the free throw line. And on Saturday against Cardinal Mooney, he led all scorers with 19 points in that game. He scored 11 points shooting free throws. And Fenton had 9 points in that game. The problem was they all came in the first half, and they ended up losing in overtime to Mooney in a game where I thought Richmond was in control 90% of the game, and then it slipped away late in the fourth quarter and in the overtime. So they're off to a 1-4 start, and Armada is really struggling. They've been 0-3, and they haven't been super competitive yet in games. Speaking of Cardinal Mooney, I was at the Dave Jackson event over the weekend. Mooney is 2-2. They didn't play terrific against Richmond most of the game, but in the end, they pulled out the victory in overtime, 46-41, and they were playing very shorthanded in this game, but they got a nice effort from Riley Broll, who scored 10 points, and Cullen Knuth playing a lot of the game with 4 fouls, finished with 8, and was the guy that handled the ball for them late when they needed it done. They were without Jackson Salter, a transfer from Anchor Bay, and they were without Liam Knuth, and they were without their coach, Mike McAndrews. They played a big league game late last week against Grosse Pointe Liggett at Liggett. They lost the game 61-49, but in that game, there was a play in which Jackson Salter got a rebound. Two Liggett players converged on them. It's pretty obvious that one of them grabs him up around the neck and shoulder area and helps him to the floor. He hit his head on the floor, 18 stitches to close a cut that he received from that. Luckily, he didn't get a concussion, or at least if he did, nobody told me that part of the story. But here's the thing about it. The officials called it a basketball play. And it's clearly not a basketball play. Anytime you've got your arm up around a guy's neck or shoulder, that's not a basketball play. I'm telling you right now, if this is the NBA, it's a flagrant foul, an ejection, and probably a suspension for a player, especially if it's the Pistons' Isaiah Stewart. But here in high school sports, we go so out of our way to try to protect players. We had this silly kneecap rule thing in football this year that drove Brady insane. He thought it was the stupidest rule, and everybody we talked to thought it was a stupid rule. But they'll enforce that. But here you get a situation where a kid gets his head slammed on the floor. It's pretty obvious. I'm not going to say it was malicious. I'm not going to say the kid did it on purpose. But I am going to say it's pretty obvious that the arm being up around the neck and shoulder area is why Salter hit the floor. And for the officials to say, nope, it's a basketball play and not do anything. And then McAndrews gets thrown out of the game. Liam Knuth defending his teammate, they get thrown out of the game. And Salter gets 18 stitches, and those three are missing for Mooney's next game. Didn't quite seem fair. So it's one of the rare times I'm going to get up on my soapbox and say something about it. But Mooney is 2-2. They've got a big game coming up later this evening, Monday night, against Royal Oak Shrine in league play. All right, the ladies are underway too. I don't have a ton of information, but I got to tell you, Port Huron High's girls are off to a great start. They're playing in the MAC Red this year, and they've got wins over Chippewa Valley and Dearborn Heights Robichaud to start the season. That's a good way to start because you're going to get into a tough league schedule. I really like the fact that the Red Hawks are 2-0. I'll see them later this week. In fact, we've got 8 basketball games this week for you. 4 of them are girls' games. I'll get to see 7 area teams this week, so we'll have a lot more girls basketball to talk about on our next program. But I'll see Marysville, St. Clair, Marine City, Port Huron High, Port Huron Northern, Yale, and Imlay City this week. Really looking forward to it. Northern's off to an 0-2 start. Marysville lost their first game of the season. St. Clair is 1-1. They had a blowout win against East Point, and then they lost to a really good Anchor Bay team, but were competitive in that game. And Marine City's off to a 1-0 start. They put 70 points up on New Haven. That's a good showing by them. Sadie Dykstra was Sadie Dykstra in her opening game. Yale doubled up Elmont 60-30, and Sadie scored 28. Yale will be the top dog in the BWAC this year. The teams that are chasing them, how about Croslex? They're off to a 2-0 start on the season. The Armada team is 1-1, and I think Armada will be good again this year. They did get blown out in their first game against Eisenhower, but again, Eisenhower is a really good MAC Red team, and Armada did graduate a lot of seniors, but they still bring back enough, I think, and they got a big win. They bounced back from getting blown out 60-15 and got a win at Imlay City 58-52 on Friday night. That's a big win because Imlay City's going to be tough. They're 2-1 to start the season. And everybody else is 1-1. North Branch, Algonac, Elmont, Richmond. They're all 1-1. I did get to see Richmond play Saturday against Mooney. And I really liked Kendall and Audrina Nader and Anna McKiernan in that game. Richmond played a lot of players and got a lot of contributions from people. They're probably a middle of the pack team in the BWAC, but again, they're a team that I wouldn't take lightly on a night, or they might come up and nip you. And I did see Cardinal Mooney. They're off to an 0-2 start. Only 8 players on the team, but again, everyone can play and everybody makes a contribution. And Abby Westrick was particularly good against Richmond. She had 12 points in that game. All right, again, more girls basketball after I see a few more games when I'm out this week. Want to wrap up with some high school hockey and tell you how everybody's doing so far. Northern is 4-8-1, but lately the Huskies have been playing better. They're fresh off a 2-0 win Saturday, in which Shane Garanowitz had an 18-save shutout. Sawyer Kemp and Chris Herms have been leading the way. Kemp already has 10 goals and 17 points on the season, and Herms has chipped in 7 goals and 11 points. PH is 4-7 to start the year, but they went 3-1, and then they had a 6-game losing streak. They did beat Woodhaven over the weekend to snap the losing streak. Jax Turnbull has 19 points in 11 games, including 11 goals, and defenseman Ronnie Mason scored 1 goal last year. He's got 8 goals and 15 points to start the season, and I don't know how, because he's got 55 minutes in penalties, so he's spending a lot of time off the ice in the box than on the ice, but when he's been on the ice, he's been producing. Marysville is only 7-7, but the Vikings are good. I think they're the area's best team right now. They're certainly the deepest team. They have so many people doing so many good things for them. Austin O'Boyle and Luke Thick already have 20 points on the season. They've each got 9 goals. Parker Sheffer, really good young player, 6 goals, 17 points. Jimmy Tremp, another guy with 5 goals and 12 points. Brady Nolful on their defense. I really like the way their defense moves the puck. He's got 11 points already. He scored 5. Isaiah Shafiq had a hat trick the other night against Port Huron. He's got 5 goals and 9 points, and he's missed a couple of games this season. And Colin Finney has played really, really well. Most of his offense came in 1 game. Last week he had a 4-goal game, but he has 5 goals on the season. There is a lot of depth to that Marysville lineup, and they're playing 4 goalies this year, and everybody's done a real solid job for them. Going to mention Thumb Legion. They're 7-3. They haven't played the toughest schedule yet. Their games, though, coming up will be a little more challenging, but they're putting up some video game numbers. Peyton Bowerman has 14 goals and 13 assists in 10 games, and Chase Tulaski has 11 goals and 15 assists, and Blake Bowerman has 5 goals and 15 assists. So they have 3 guys with 20 points already. They've only played 10 games. Jackson Anthony and Ben Meyer are also off to real good starts for the Legion. And I'm going to throw Anchor Bay in there too. They got off to a really bad start, but they're now 3-8 and have been winning some games lately, and leading the way for them, Max Heil and Finn Apria. Heil has 9 goals and 8 assists, and Apria has 7 goals and 5 assists so far on the season. Again, it's going to be a busy week this week. I'll be out working 6 days, and we'll have 8 games, 4 girls games, 3 boys games, and a hockey game on Saturday. We'll see that Marysville team play hockey on Saturday. And again, really excited because I'm going to get to see 7 area teams in girls basketball this week, but also in boys basketball. I'm going to get a look at a Yale-Imlay City game on Friday night, and I'm also going to get to see the Port Huron High, Port Huron Northern game, which is coming up on Thursday night in the Blue Water area. So if you're not doing anything and you're looking for something to do, there's a lot of great high school sports out there, and I hope you'll check some of that out. All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. It's the Thumb Coast Get Stuck on Sports TV edition, and I'm your host, Dennis Stuckey. Thank you. Have a great week.